Hey there, HHD students. My name's Andy. I'm a VCE Health and Human Development teacher. And in this short video, we're going to consider how you can use Unit 1-2 HHD to prepare yourself for Unit 3-4. So this is often a common consideration for students completing Unit 1-2 who are wanting to try to upskill themselves and be as prepared as possible for Unit 3 and 4 the following year. So you can see here I've given a list of some of the content and skills that's similar across Unit 1-2 and Unit 3-4. And so I've mentioned there that you can work extra hard on these concepts and understanding the knowledge and skills associated with them, and that will really help you in Unit 3-4 because they come up again and it'll be related to things that come up in your SAC and the exam at the end of the year. So these are some aspects of the Unit 1-2 course. It's really important to make sure you understand them and practice using them in questions as well as you can. So the 5 dimensions of health and well-being that are covered in Unit 1-2, okay, so obviously physical, emotional, social, spiritual, and mental. Make sure that you know those really well and examples of those quite thoroughly, because that's something that continues to be relevant throughout Unit 3 and 4. So that's definitely some content and a skill that you'll need to make sure that you're really on top of in Unit 1-2, and that'll really benefit you in Unit 3-4. The majority of the health status indicators that are mentioned, okay, in Unit 1-2, so things like life expectancy and burden of disease, they come up again in Unit 3-4, so it's really important that you understand those well and how to apply them. The socio-cultural factors that you cover, okay, in Unit 1-2, okay, socio-cultural factors are then relevant again in Unit 3, so understanding and knowing examples of those is really important. You cover off the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating in Unit 1-2, that comes up again in Unit 3, so making sure that you understand that sort of image really well and all the different food groups that are associated with it. Also, barriers to healthy eating, understanding some barriers in healthy eating is part of Unit 1-2, and that comes up again in Unit 3. As well as aspects of the Australian health system, so Medicare, the PBS, and private health insurance. They're covered in Unit 1-2, not exactly the same way that they're covered in Unit 3 and 4, but having a really good sort of basis and understanding of those will help you when you cover them in Unit 3-4. I've also mentioned their data interpretation and analysis, because that's a skill that you'll be learning in Unit 1-2, and there's definitely a lot of graphs and tables and data and sources that you'll need to be able to interpret and analyze in Unit 3-4, so working on that skill in Unit 1-2 is really helpful. What are some other things that you can do apart from just that content and those skills that I was sort of mentioning on the previous slide that can help you to prepare for Unit 3-4? I've mentioned at the top they get used to reading your textbook regularly, so I really encourage my students to set some time aside each week to read a section of their textbook relevant to what we're about to cover or covering in our class, just because I always say to them the textbook gives you a better overview of all of the aspects of HHD. Obviously in classes we can't talk about absolutely everything. It's kind of a bit of a summary, I guess, about the important points. So reading your textbook regularly helps to give you that sort of broader picture, okay, of the course. I've also mentioned there practice attempting a range of HHD questions with different command terms. So really getting your head around what's the difference between like a describe question and a justify and evaluate in Unit 1-2 will help you in Unit 3-4. I've also mentioned there getting into the habit of using HHD language in your answers to questions. So understanding when you see health and well-being and health status in a question and what that really means you need to refer to in your answer. For example, health and well-being in a question means that you need to be linking to one or more dimensions of health and well-being in an answer. So that's something to really try to get your head around as well as you can in Unit 1-2. Also understanding, as I mentioned previously, how to look at data and analyze it, but really looking out for things like trends and relationships. And I did a previous video not long ago on the difference between a trend and a relationship, so if you are not clear about that, you can go back and have a look. I've also mentioned there start working on answering questions that are worth 8 marks and over and that use several sources of stimulus material. This is something you can chat to your teacher about if you're not sure where to find some samples of these, but this is definitely something you'll have to do in Unit 3-4. So if you can start thinking about attending some of these in Unit 1-2, that'll really help you prepare for Unit 3-4. Okay, hopefully you found that video useful. There's a heap more videos on Health Resources Hub YouTube channel, and a new one will come out every day between now and the exam at the end of the year, so please subscribe and get your friends to also to catch all those videos. I'm doing a exam preparation revision lecture for ACED at the end of the year, so you can book a spot to that at book.acedvce.com. Our Instagram and Facebook page, you can follow us there to get alerts to all the videos that are coming out and other tips and advice for HHD. And you can also send us an email if you're wanting to see some certain videos. I can see if I can accommodate those, so get in touch. Thanks so much.